This is the third part of the lecture for week 12. We're going to talk about Facebook tools and Twitter tools and YouTube as resources for ministry. As we speak about Facebook, Sutherland quotes Tim Challies, who talks about the benefits of Facebook. One of Facebook's great benefits for you as a ministry leader is to let you be where your people are. If you are like most pastors, you will find that church members are not the only members of Facebook, but they are active members. This is where people socialize, where they entertain themselves, and where occasionally they discuss serious issues. This is not to say that you need to be on Facebook in order to effectively minister to your people, but it does give you one more way of interacting with them, and one that can be very effective. Facebook is at the heart a social media one uses to coordinate communication, and this is where you'll find it assists in ministry. And here are some ways to use Facebook. One is staff Facebook engagement. In other words, make sure that all of your staff are on Facebook so the church can be communicating with them. Quite often, those workers are part-time workers, and access to them at the church is limited, but Facebook opens that up. Of course, a church Facebook page, as many of your churches now have. Keep people abreast both of things that are coming up in the church, news about the church, and messages from the church of encouragement to the community. He also suggests even a church Facebook group, which could be a private group by which you can share prayer concerns and so forth. And perhaps some of your groups, your small groups, could have a Facebook group or page. But you also want to engage Facebook guests on Facebook. In other words, invite people to friend the church, or invite people to friend you as a way of giving them a chance to begin to get to know you and to communicate with you. He also says, do not be the Facebook police. In other words, you're going to see some things on Facebook that make you roll your eyes or be concerned, but don't feel the need to correct everything. But look for ministry opportunities that Facebook provides. You don't want to be the police on the Facebook, but you might want to be the EMT on Facebook as you read what somebody is needing or assistance they need. That might be a way of accessing that help to them, which is a wonderful message from the church that we respond to people in need. And create events. One of the best ways to invite people one of the best ways to hold an event is to invite people to that event, and Facebook is a way of helping people know what's happening and respond to whether they will be a part. He talks about Twitter, and Twitter's that I'm trying to remember how many characters, 144 characters or something like that. Obviously, I'm not a Twitter user. I probably need to be, but this allows people to talk to us quickly, intimately, in a way that we can respond to them, but they can also know what we are thinking. Unfortunately, we have a president who uses his Twitter account like a bludgeon, and we want to be careful about that. But some pastors even allow people to tweet them during a sermon, so that at points they might see something that helps them respond to a question ongoing in the sermon as well. Those tweets, if you will, are going to continue because Twitter is here to stay, because people want to be able to communicate. But how do we use Twitter in ministry? We have a personal Twitter account, which I have, but I need to probably start using. There are also church Twitter accounts, ways that people can send quick messages to the church at the right time and the right number of times. That can be a very effective thing in knowing what people are thinking and how you are affecting them. You want to have a church hashtag, he says. I don't know enough about hashtags to do that, but you can find out. As I said earlier, there can be sermon enhancements as people respond to your sermon in real time as they're listening to it. And the fact of the matter is that you might have a way to respond during the sermon, or you might have a way to respond afterwards. And of course, there are ministry searches can be conducted on Twitter. And it's another way for you to monitor the spiritual health and attitude of the church by reading the tweets that come from your church members. YouTube. In addition to sharing our lives and thoughts with a chosen group of people, we can also share our experiences. And YouTube has become the world's largest video sharing community. Think about that. You're watching me on YouTube right now, but YouTube is so large, and people can find so many topics on YouTube that you, by tagging your YouTube messages properly, can get the message out in a beautiful way. You're going to need some special tools. You need to have a good video camera, you need to have good audio, and you need to have good editing. But here are some ways to use YouTube effectively for ministry. First, to introduce the pastor. To be the minister of a church is no light task, but people are often attracted to a church by a pastor, so use YouTube as a way of helping people meet him by seeing him, among other things, and hearing him. We also can invite people to church via YouTube by little messages that we put out and post that make coming to your church look attractive. We can get members involved because, again, church members need to have stories as well, and their stories often connect people with the church. It's a way to raise philanthropic support or promote events or do sermon series introductions that might intrigue people enough to come and hear the real thing. Some churches conduct interviews of their members, especially on certain topics, and with their permission post those interviews online as another form of communication tools. YouTube can have sermon clips. And YouTube can take pictures of your people and your church in action. One of the best YouTubes I've seen in a long time has been done by the church that I based out of, Chambersburg Church, when they gather people from all over the community every year to box food for children around the world. And as you watch them do that work, as you hear them talk about their experience, as you encounter people explaining what they're doing, it is a wonderful way of saying that this is a church on top of things and a church that cares. Now, just a few last things to say. We need to remember that there are some social media mistakes, according to Sutherland. One is an incomplete profile, one that leaves important things out about you so that you become a surprise. For example, I don't think that you hide the fact that you are attached to a church. That's kind of bait and switch for people if you're not careful. There's a problem of inconsistency. If you're going to use the social media, you need to do it consistently. One of the problems with websites is they're not updated. But the fact of the matter is, if you have a Facebook account that you're using as either a pastor or a church, and you do not regularly post, after a while, people don't continue to get that communication. You can also be not personal enough. You can just post scriptures. You can just say things in such a general way that people wonder who you are and what you're doing. Or you can be too personal. You can say things, frankly, things you probably shouldn't have even said from a pulpit on Facebook that give people the wrong understanding of Jesus Christ or yourself. A social media mistake is to not ask people's permission to post pictures or testimonies or personal information about others. Some churches actually have in their bulletin that photos taken during this service or during this activity will be used on our Facebook unless you ask us not to. Of course, a big social media mistake is to post something you might regret. I'm sure a few times in my life I've actually had to take down a Facebook post because later on somebody said you didn't have all the facts. Advertising your church as something it's not is another problem. We can make our church sound so good, but we're not talking about the real church that we are part of. And when people come, they learn the truth. That doesn't help you. Or spending, as we said earlier, too much time on social media. That's a mistake. But probably one of the biggest mistakes is not to have a strategy, just to let that tool happen as it happens, instead of using that tool intentionally, constructively, creatively, and excellently in promoting the ministry of your congregation. I want to tell you one more thing. If you want to know about those social media strategies, I would suggest to you that you do get the book and read particularly that chapter. Whether you use one of these tools or all three, you need to have a strategy to use something in social media so that you do not miss this tremendous opportunity to communicate with the world out there and with one another. I hope that these comments today, in addition to your reading, have been helpful to you on this topic. I know there's a lot more I'd like to say, but frankly, you have listened to my lectures now for 12 weeks. You have read the books I've asked you to read, and you've read them honestly and thoroughly. You have commented upon them in a way that I have found very instructive, not only to myself, but I'm sure instructive to others, and I've been very impressed with the way you have engaged the material. So indeed, I hope that as we wrap this course up, that this course has been a strength to you. I have one more video I will post later today, and it's a reminder of healthy churches. God bless.